My name is Marta, and right now I hold the hilarious title of DevOps Heroine at Acrolinks GmbH. We're a German company selling a product involving a lot of computational linguistics. It's written in Java, Clojure, Python, and so on. It's pretty impressive, but that is not why I'm here. That's not what I'm going to be talking about, but feel free to hit me up about it afterwards. I came into IT from a completely different world. I used to be an activist. I worked in non-government organizations. I was used to flat structures and people that wear many hats. I wore a lot of hats when I was working in NGOs, because those are environments that are usually understaffed and under budget. And that kind of being used to this sort of work, that's what made DevOps really attractive for me, because of this collaboration and this kind of tight, let's say, bond between different teams. So love of DevOps came naturally for me. After I'm done in the next few days, I'm going to put up the written version of this talk on my blog that you can see the URL here, because some people have ADHD, some people don't like watching videos, and they might enjoy reading this. So first of all, a disclaimer: if you read my talk proposal, my talk abstract, I made a lot of religious jokes there, and I wanted to continue with them. But then when I started writing them, I figured that I am going to drop this aspect of this talk, because I do overdo jokes sometimes, and it's different when you overdo it in a group of friends and when you overdo it in front of 100 people at a conference that's being live streamed. So I decided that I will spare myself this risk. But still, I hope you're going to take something out of it. There will be other jokes here. So I decided to prepare this talk after I read an article in TechCrunch in April. Probably some of you also read it. The article stating that DevOps is dead. And this is the kind of thing that we will hear every now and again, that someone will proclaim something dead for various reasons. And the best response would be to, and I wouldn't be the only one to tell you this, the best response would be to just forget it, because, haters gonna hate, and we should just do our thing. And having said that, I could just say thank you for listening and get out the stage. But I did Google to see how serious the death of DevOps is, and it turned out that what is clickbait for some is a joke for others. Like, probably, hopefully, everyone here doesn't believe that DevOps is dead. But it is also, I found, reading Quora or Reddit or some blog posts, I found that there are people who are really worried about DevOps being dead, especially the ones that just became DevOps engineers or would want to become ones. So I figured that maybe it's good to treat it seriously. Yeah, so I think the article changed its title in the meantime, because it used to be called DevOps is Dead, Long Live DevOps. Now it's called Managed Services Kill DevOps. And okay, going on with the article. So the article opens with this quote, and I assume that a lot of you read blog posts and DevOps-related articles, and I have a feeling that people who proclaim DevOps dead or have those really strong opinions, they state it with a level of confidence that I find unique to this Silicon Valley microclimate. I mean, just look at this thought leadership stating that DevOps as we know it is dead. You might not agree with me, but I'm right. It is dead. I am a thought leader, wrote a TechCrunch article. But I did not come here to laugh at someone. That's really mean. But further, now, this is a little bit of topic, but further, the same person says that QA is dying too, and that no one can afford to have it in the middle of continuous deployment. And, well, I work in a company that sells software, and it's a software like that has a UI. And we have a great team of skilled developers, really talented people, but still it's human nature that some errors, some mistakes will slip through the cracks. And you can automate, obviously you do automate UI tests, but you cannot automate how to test emotional or aesthetic reactions to your UI. So shout out to our QA team, great people, thanks to which we have a lot of happy customers. And I cannot imagine I cannot imagine companies like ours not having a QA team, because that's like basically death. That's real death. And so this is a bit off topic, but I wanted to mention this also because, together with the previous quote, I think it shows that people who say things like that might have problems with perspective, like a lack of perspective, because not every company will look like yours, and there are successful companies that do things right that don't look like yours, and this is just proof that there's a bit of a problem with perspective. And furthermore, whenever someone says that DevOps is dead or X is the new DevOps, for me, it feels like they don't fully understand what DevOps is. Like, DevOps is a complex idea, complex as in it's supposed to inspire technological and cultural transformations. I mean, you all know that. I'm just not saying anything original here. But those changes focus on problems that transcend just tools, vendors, or providers. Those are problems that you cannot fix with tooling. And once again, you all know that, but it's surprising that after so many years, not everyone does, and then we have to read articles like this. And the confusion around DevOps is summed up perfectly in this Nir Cohen talk that I'll put the slides up later, you should really read it, it's hilarious how we misperceive what DevOps is. So we have a DevOps team, and that's a group of people that know everything. And they can do everything, but they will not develop the application because that's what devs do. And they will not install the servers manually because that's what the ops do. And you should really read that talk. It's hilarious. So the logical fallacy here when stating that DevOps is dead is the person who's saying it is trying to kill something that actually doesn't exist because their version of DevOps is not actual DevOps. So, and I think this logical fallacy might be clearer once we have a look at all the flavors, factions of DevOps that have been appearing recently. There's enterprise DevOps, there's DevOps, there's no-ops, there's serverless, there's rugged DevOps, you heard them all. And it's easy to get confused, so I prepared a short breakdown that hopefully will clear out a few things. So, enterprise DevOps, it's I don't want to say anything bad about it because I feel bad saying bad things about it, but enterprise DevOps is like regular DevOps, but you signed an NDA and you're not allowed to talk about it. But among all the other DevOps flavors that we notice sprouting around the web, and heads of people that want to implement them, I think that enterprise DevOps is the only one, correct me if I'm wrong, is the only one that's still focused on culture. The more you think about it, the more you see that how strong the focus on culture in enterprise DevOps is. Because in our small startups or small companies, we have the ops dev, silos, and that's nothing compared to huge organizations like that will have way bigger problems. Seems like secrecy, like transparency, like trust or lack of trust. There are big issues in enterprise DevOps, and they're not related to tools per se. And the nice thing is that people who who want to engage in enterprise DevOps and believe in enterprise DevOps, they do not proclaim DevOps dead. On the contrary, I think that because of the focus on culture, it's like more DevOps in DevOps, especially compared to all the other ones. Don't know if you heard about rugged DevOps. Has anyone heard about rugged DevOps? Yay, great. So it's basically, I've got a beard, hence I mean business. No, but rugged DevOps is something I learned about quite recently myself, and it's a term, if I am not mistaken, created by Gene Kim, the author of the Phoenix Project, together with Joshua Corman. I hope I'm not mistaking anything, but putting it simply, it's a security-focused DevOps approach. So DevOps is not enough. You need to have a beard and sit in a basement. So they made Gene Kim and Joshua Corman. They made a presentation that you can find a link here in the bottom. It's worth looking at. It's very long, but it's very informative. And they introduce the term ruggedities. So those would be those core values that rugged DevOps is supposed to be about. And I assume you all listened to Chris's talk earlier, but he talked about security, how security is not something separate, that it should be there. It should be in a DevOps mindset all along. So it's interesting how I think it's a good sign that something like this exists, because we live in a culture where the security, the safety of the end users especially is not taken into account, is not taken as seriously as it should be. But still, this adding rugged in the front and creating something new I find it redundant, because everything that is in that presentation is already present in DevOps, in the original thing. And I don't think, since DevOps is holistic, I don't think you need special adjectives to put in front of them. So serverless is kind of like spaghetti, as in you go to a restaurant, you order spaghetti, the waiter brings you tomato soup, and you ask, excuse me? And the waiter shrugs and says, well, it's just words. Words have different meanings. Get used to it. I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry. But a big problem that I have with serverless is that, and I'm not the only one. I Googled that before. See that I'm not the only one. It's the fact that when you outsource operations, when you get rid of certain parts of the way you used to do things up till now, it means that you give away control. And sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not. Like, what happens when your cloud provider goes bankrupt, for example? There have been various stories of services running out of business suddenly, and in the hype, it's easy to forget about that and just jump on the bandwagon and don't think about the consequences. And in situations like that, as we say in Poland, we are left with our hands in the potty. And there's this saying, I tried attributing it, but I don't know who's the author, that eventually there is no cloud, there's only other people's computers, so it doesn't matter how much you abstract, how much you virtualize, and so on. In the end, there are going to be physical servers somewhere. And when you think about it, the obscurity, the detachment is something that is worrying already for the more security paranoid among us. And maybe it doesn't bother you, but maybe it does bother you a bit that you can't say with 100% certainty what technology does Amazon Glacier use to store your backups. Are those old hard drives? Is this magnetic tape? Does it really matter? People have different approaches to that, obviously, but it's good to keep in mind this aspect. NoOps is very popular here, so I'm very sorry. But NoOps is like, you're a developer, and you're in a modern art gallery, and you stand in front of this Jackson Pollock painting, and you're like, my 6-year-old could do that. So the term was coined by the company Forrester, if I Googled it correctly, and they define NoOps as completely automating the deployment, blah, 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 blah. And I see this, and especially, and I have in mind also what Chris was saying earlier also about the problems with the security teams and ops teams and the classic problems of communication. And I read this, and for me it feels like this is a pretty drastic move to solve your people problems in your ops team, and between your ops and dev team. But being serious for a moment, I think it's the same thing as with a lot of converts. There's this drive to proclaim something here, NoOps, as something universal. And some people do that. Not everybody does, but some people do. It's new, it's shiny, everybody should be doing it. Just remember Docker in the beginning. It's the same. And then problems popped up, and now some people want to have a Docker fork. And this ignores the fact that, of course, what we strive when we think about infrastructure and all those automation tools and so on is to remove the snowflake aspect, that not your infrastructure isn't a snowflake. That is true. And it's good to standardize as much as possible. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that every company, every product and so on will fit the same mold. And some people that believe in NoOps believe also in that. And some companies, like my company, has its own server room, a physical room with a key, an access card that not everyone can walk into. We have on-premises infrastructure on our premises, and a lot of other companies do. And but assuming you are fit to do NoOps, you still need to make sure that the developers understand the difference between their test environment, their workstations, and the so-called real world. Because there are subtle things and subtle things, and you might just not think about it. And the language of NoOps, I tweeted it yesterday that for me, there's a lot of ops hate in the NoOps movement, and some of you will think I'm exaggerating, but would you ever call doing development work a problem? It's fun, it's your work. Why do we talk about operations as if it was a problem? Can it be our problem, or can it be someone else's problem? I don't think that's a positive language. You don't have to agree with me. But, so the hype seems to be a little down since the beginning, but you can still see articles titled like this: when DevOps isn't enough, try NoOps. Let me translate this for you. When eating a salad is not enough, try eating a rusty nail. And as with serverless, there's confusion. The name really seems to be misleading. Have this quote from Chris Hambridge from his blog post on IBM, when he says that NoOps can be unpopular with some members of the DevOps community, as some take it to mean the exclusion of operations. Well, that's what NoOps kind of says. But we mean it to describe as the next level of DevOps. So either someone's feeling embarrassed about the name, or we still have the same problem over and over and over again. Maybe next time we could do a Google or a SurveyMonkey about how to call the next shiny thing. So I will risk saying that, and you don't have to agree with me, obviously, that for me it seems that all those new the next DevOps or the new DevOps flavors that are becoming popular, that are supposed to have killed DevOps and be the new DevOps and so on. They're just shades of this wonderful, complex, liberating thing. And it makes me wonder, why do people want to see DevOps die? Like, what's going on here? And, DevOps isn't dead, obviously. It has never been dead. It's not going to be dead anytime soon. And I think the fact that people try killing DevOps means that it's still not understood properly. And to be honest, I say silly things about DevOps sometimes, even though I'm a DevOps heroine. But to my defense, I can say that I've been in the industry for only a few years, and I studied American literature, and I kind of came from the outside. But still, I understand that we can sometimes say silly things about DevOps, but each conference, each meetup, we will have talks about culture, about collaboration, and you know the drill. And even after so much input, so much stress on how important it is to have a cultural shift, we will still have people making this really limiting assumption that we should focus on the tools only, and then the tools only turns out that just changing your tool set doesn't fix all your problems. So you want to think of a new ideology that will fix it. So DevOps as a set of ideas has good and bad implementations. Like, you will have the site reliability engineer pattern that there was an open space yesterday about. And this is basically, putting it simply, as an software engineer who is additionally taking over some burdens from the ops team that are connected to automation. And then you will have those bad DevOps patterns, like the DevOps engineer, horribly named, but I think that I'm afraid that the DevOps engineer is something that is going to be here to stay, unfortunately, very, very sadly. So we might have to get used to it, but you have both good and bad implementations. So coming back to this question, why are people happy? Why do people want to kill DevOps? I think, once again, I'll repeat that. I think it's maybe about being scared to tackle the culture problems. Maybe it's we don't care about people, we just care about using comfortable tools, and we'd rather reorganize our own tool set than talk to people. And maybe we are, drowning is the wrong word, maybe we are so deep into this meritocracy, saying that we believe that tools and the code is enough to be successful. And I'm going to finish with a parable, with a story. You probably all know the story of Daedalus and Icarus. Daedalus, the wise, talented craftsman, and Icarus, his young son. And Daedalus shows Icarus how to fly, gives him wings and a set of very simple rules to follow, which Icarus ignores after a few minutes, because why should you listen to old people anyway? Well, we all know how it ended for Icarus. That wasn't a pleasant ending. He flew for a few moments, and then he thought he was a flying expert. And I'm bringing this up now. I hope that you will not consider this a harsh or a mean thing to say, because it's not my intention to insult people. My intention is to just point to the fact that sometimes we have a limited perspective, and we jump to conclusions and so on. And I think that DevOps just hasn't been around long enough to have its potential fully exposed and explored, and we're listening, we're seeing, hearing, participating in those success stories again and again and again. And I think that killing it now and proclaiming it dead is, silly. So is DevOps dead? No, it's not. Is it gonna die? No, it's not. Should we do no ops? No, let's not do no ops. Thank you.